How's it going, guys? It's your man JT coming at you with another video here. Now, recently, a lot of my videos lately have been on the Miami Dolphins as they, their season came to an end and their playoff trip. But I wanted to make kind of a different video and just look at the NFL league in general here. As one of the first things that happened in the offseason, granted, many teams are still in the playoffs going for that Super Bowl title. That's still going on. But for all the other teams that their seasons are done, usually we see kind of a coaching carousel. Coaches get fired towards the end of the year, and it's always interesting to see who they replace them with and what kind of identity that brings to the team and how it ultimately affects the team. I think you would say, a Adam Gase or Ben McAdoo, the decision for the Dolphins and Giants to go with those guys, obviously, in 1 year, just a small sample size, but seemed to really work out well for those teams. Where I don't know if anyone had proven to be a major disappointment. Yes, Chip Kelly got fired, but that was kind of a bad situation anyway. I think that was probably a place he didn't need to go to. They didn't really know what they were doing, so. Now, of course, 6 teams are looking for head coaches this time around, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Buffalo Bills, the San Diego Chargers, actually LA Chargers at this point, the LA Rams, San Francisco 49ers, and then the Denver Broncos head coach Gary Kubiak, retired, leaving because of medical reasons. So that is 6 teams either fired or now in need of a new head coach, and so I'm going to go ahead and talk about who they ultimately replace those spots with, and my thoughts on it. Now, of course, the San Francisco 49ers are the only team to have not hired a new head coach at this point. They've been linked to Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, and Kyle Shanahan, offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, both those teams are still in the playoffs, so they can't talk to those guys or give those guys jobs at this moment. So that's probably the logical reason why they have not hired a new head coach at this point, is that they're just simply waiting for one of those guys to become available, or for whoever they have their eye on, and then they would go ahead and make that man their new head coach. As for the other teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars were the very first team to get a head coach, but simply they promoted Doug Marrone to the head coaching spot. They also brought in Tom Coughlin as kind of a vice president to help make some decisions. Obviously, he's a former head coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars and probably the team's most successful run in their history. So some interesting moves as far as just focusing on, I like Tom Coughlin going to the vice president spot. I think it's a wise mind to add to the front office, but just focusing on the Doug Marrone spot, it feels very much like a meh move. It's not a bad move. I don't think Doug Marrone's a bad coach. His run in Buffalo was fine. Now he's getting another run here after being part of the Jacksonville Jaguars this past season, but obviously what you've been doing in Jacksonville the last few years has not worked, so simply promoting a guy, I don't know if that's necessarily the answer. I felt like they are a team that really could have used something different, something to shake it up, a new voice, a new presence. Now, maybe Doug Marrone, even though he's been a part of the team, now that he has more power, maybe he will bring something different. Maybe, a veteran experience for some of those guys, because Jacksonville does have some talent. It just feels like they haven't been able to pull it out these past couple years. I feel like they definitely could be better than a 3-13 team. When you look at their roster, you see plenty of talent there. It just doesn't come to life on Sundays or whenever they play. So maybe Doug Marrone can bring that out of them, but it seems a little bit of an underwhelming hire. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills hired defensive coordinator Sean McDermott out of the Carolina Panthers, and in return, Anthony Lynch, their offensive coordinator, went ahead and headed to the LA Chargers. So they lose Lynch. Some people thought maybe they would hire him because he seemed like a very viable head coaching candidate, but instead they go with Sean McDermott. And so this is very clear for the Buffalo Bills. When teams do stuff like this, it's very, very clear. Buffalo Bills, the past few years, their strength has been defense, although their defense has regressed under Rex Ryan, which is why he was fired. But they now are hiring another defensive head coach in Sean McDermott. So the Buffalo Bills are really driving that idea home that we want to have a good defense. We want that to be the focus of our team, and we'll figure everything else later. They're not sure what they're going to do at a quarterback position. They're not sure what they're going to do at wide receiver, but they're making it clear we are going to have a good defense one way or another. And so Sean McDermott's going to have to bring that to them, being a defensive coordinator. Yes, he has to figure out the offense as well, but when you get hired for something like this, when it's clear why the team wants you, they're going to expect a good defense in Buffalo. And so we'll see what they do to accomplish that. Now with the LA Chargers, they get Anthony Lynch. I think it's potentially a good hire. He seemed like an up and coming guy. I don't know too much about him, even being a part of the Buffalo Bills, but he does have a lot of respect around the league, and so I think it's a good name for the Chargers to go ahead and pick up while they're in the process of moving to LA. Try to give the fans something to kind of get excited about over there. Maybe a hot name at head coach will help a little bit. The Denver Broncos ended up hiring Vance Joseph, the former defensive coordinator. Now, some people questioning this move because the Dolphins' struggles on defense, but really the Dolphins had a lot of problems on defense. They had 7 defensive players on IR. That last game against Buffalo, they didn't have their cornerback, starting linebacker, starting free safety, starting strong safety. That's 4 key positions right there that you're playing with backup. So while the Dolphins defense sure wasn't great, they also had some good things about them. They were top 20 overall, top 5 in interceptions. So I think a lot of people have respect for what Vance Joseph did in Miami despite all the problems when you look past just the original numbers. Not to mention Vance Joseph was a guy who his name's been out there for a few years now. So the Denver Broncos, John Elway liked him. And it seemed obvious the whole time that Vance Joseph was going to go to the Denver Broncos again because of that connection with John Elway, who's running the team right now. And that is ultimately what happened over in Denver. Now, the LA Rams may be making the most interesting hire, going with Sean McVay, 30 years old. Now, last year when the Dolphins hired Adam Gase, he was the youngest head coach in the league at 38. And this is now 30, so this is the youngest head coach ever in NFL history by quite a few years. So it'll be interesting. I mean, there's a couple of players on the LA Rams, even though they have the team's youngest roster, so maybe they're thinking that's not going to be a problem because the whole team's young. There's still a few players on that roster that are older than the head coach, which is obviously supposed to be a position of respect and authority, and trying to get, a leader of men is a term that gets thrown around a lot. So obviously he seems like a bright young offensive mind to get a job at this age. It'll be interesting to see if he can indeed handle that position. Not only just being a head coach, but being a head coach of the Los Angeles Rams and having kind of that big media, big city market around him and the attention that comes with that, if he'll be able to guide the team despite all the distractions. But, obviously all these teams feel like they have hired their guy and only time will tell if it is able to bring their team success. Because other than the Denver Broncos, who they also missed the playoffs, many of these teams, there's a reason they fire their coach because things are not going their way right now. So they are hoping that these recent hires will shift the tables and, get things going in the right direction for their organizations. Let me know what you think was the best hire of all these coaches. And also, who do you think the San Francisco 49ers ultimately will hire? And I'll see you guys around.